Hello, my dear students. Welcome to Miss Reyes class. Are you ready to have fun in this learning session? What are we going to learn for today? So, in today's class, we will learn the basic concept of poverty. You have to prepare your source book, workbook, or your modules and another study equipment like notebooks and pens to be able to follow on our discussion. So, first, let's go to the concept and definition. Poverty. It is a situation wherein people experience the lack of basic essential necessities that human being must have to survive. Pag pinag-uusapan po natin yung word na poverty, we are talking about not just a concept, it's a situation, it's a reality na kung saan nakikita po talaga natin na may mga tao talaga na nakaka-experience na hindi po nila kayang i-provide yung basic essential necessities lang sa isang araw. Ano ba yung mga essential necessities na tinutukoy po natin? So we have here examples like the food and water, clothes, shelter, education, medical health, and security. So ano-ano nga ba itong mga to? First, when we talk about food and water, meron po tayong mga kababayan, yung mga meron po tayong mga nakikita, mga kapitbahay natin, or even pwedeng tayo din, di ba? Na nahihirapan i-provide yung pangangailangan natin, like food and water. So, basic necessities sana ng isang tao na makakain 3 times a day. And of course, makakuha or makainom ng fresh water or kahit malinis lang na tubig, no? Pero, hindi po lahat ay blessed to have this. So, ibig sabihin, pag hindi po nila ito na-provide or nahihirapan sila to provide this, basic necessities then, we can uh, term that situation as part of a poverty. Next is clothes. Clothes to wear. So, alam po natin that clothes is basic necessity of an individual. Siyempre, nakikita nyo naman yung mga bata sa kalsada na yung mga damit nila gusot-gusot or overused na kasi they don't have, okay, yung capability to provide clothes for them. Shelter. So, kadalasan din ito na nakikita natin in a place na talagang may poverty is yung kanilang mga bahay, tahanan nila ay hindi talaga bahay, no? May mga iba, they are just staying under a bridge or meron yung gumawa lang talaga sila ng bahay kahit nga sa gitna pa ng mga ilog or kanal. Talagang nag-stay sila doon just to have what they call a shelter na pwede nilang pagtulugan kapagka maulan, kapagka may bagyo. Yan nga pala 'no, I'm recording this in the middle of rainy season, yan, umulan. So, sana naririnig niyo yung boses ko. But, yan, yun yung background natin for today. Background music natin for today yun. So, yan, yung shelter, yung makapag-provide lang sana ng place wherein kahit umulan man o umaraw ay magiging safe po sila. Next is education. Ito ang pinakamahirap sa lahat, no? Syempre pag when you're into poverty situation, um, the only choice for you or kadalasang choices para sa kanila is not to prioritize education and medical health care. So, yung ma-provide man lang sana yung basic medical healthcare para sa kanila, nahihirapan na silang gawin nun. So, mapapansin po natin kapag may mga sakit sila or hinahayaan na lang nila, pinipilit na lang nila to survive. It's because hindi po nila mai-provide yung basic medical healthcare po sana. And lastly, the security. When we're talking about security, it means na nakakatulog ka sa gabi without thinking of um, 'di ba, na wala bang mga tao na puwedeng pumatay sa akin kapagka tulog ako ng gabi or am I safe, okay, in a place where I belong. So, 'yun, that's part of the basic necessity sana 'no ng mga tao. Pero, once na hindi nila mai-provide itong mga ito, then we can call this situation as poverty situation. So, the essential necessity So poverty surpasses all social, economic, and political confines. Anong ibig sabihin nito? When we're talking about poverty, nalalampasan niya pa yung hirap or pagkakakulong natin sa mga social problems natin, economic problems natin, even political problems natin. When we talk about confines, ito yung nakukulong tayo into a situation. Ganun din si poverty eh. We feel like nakakulong tayo dun sa certain situation na yun, nahihirapan tayong umalis on that situation. So, it surpasses all of yung problems na iniisip pa po natin. Like yung social, economic, and political confines na iniisip po natin. That's how hard to be a part of that situation. We have still some concept and definitions of poverty. It is a general scarcity or condition where an individual's basic needs for survival, including food, clothing, and shelter, are not being met. So, general scarcity, ibig sabihin, when we talk about scarcity, it's the limited resources of, or hindi natin na provide yung mga resources na kailangan po natin. When we talk about scarcity, kakulangan. Okay? Kakulangan ng pangangailangan po natin. So it's a general scarcity. Next is, now we're going to tackle about the phases of poverty. May iba't ibang mukha ang poverty kasi sometimes when you are asked, are you part of that situation, hindi natin alam, no? Ano nga ba kasi yung situation of poverty? How are we going to define and how are we going to look at the different phases of poverty? So, as we already know, kapag ka-poverty kasi, ito lang yung mga tao na nakikita natin sa lansangan, walang bahay. Yan. So, sa tingin natin sila lang yung part of, di ba, the poor. So, ano-ano nga ba to? So, we have here some list to discuss. Okay? When we talk about poverty. So, poverty has existed for a very long period of time and to various magnitudes. So, ibig sabihin ng various magnitudes, iba-iba yung iba-iba yung volume ng kahirapan, no? Yung pwedeng mahirap na para sa iba ay mayaman pa para sa iba. So, different magnitudes of poverty. May mga poverty lines nga tayong tinatawag. So, on the later discussion, madidiscuss po natin yon. But for now, we are reminded that poverty has existed for a very long period na. So, ano nga bang nangyayari? Bakit parang instead of nakakaalis tayo on that situation, eh parang mas nalulugmok tayo sa situation na yon. So, several endeavors have been made to tackle these challenges with respect to addressing the issue of poverty here in the Philippines. However, though yung intentions po natin were good and highly appreciated, may kakulangan pa rin tayo on visions, corruptions, and competence um, na nakikita natin sa mga leaders po natin. And again, it stood in that way. Kaya nandito pa rin tayo ngayon, okay? Sa ganitong klaseng situation or bakit ang dami pa rin nating mga kababayan na hindi pa rin nakakaalis dun sa situation na yon. So, pwede rin na while I'm speaking right now, meron pa rin sa atin, okay, na nanonood ngayon that feels like they are still in the poverty line. So, next phase of poverty that we're going to tackle is that absolute poverty includes people and their children undergoing intense struggle in really surviving on a day-to-day basis. So, pagka tinawag nating mahirap or part of the situation of absolute poverty, ibig kong sabihin nun, kasama yung mga anak, okay? Kasama yung generations to come dun sa struggles of how to survive each and every day. Kapag ka ikaw po ay nandun sa situation na yon, na yung family ninyo, nahihirapan to survive your everyday living, then you are in situation of one phase of poverty. Okay? Next is poverty itself implies self deprivation and misery to the poor, and it also makes them susceptible to countless forms of exploitation. Anong ibig naman sabihin nito? When we're talking about poverty. Kaya nakikita natin 'no, kadalasan sa mga gumagawa ng hindi magaganda to the other people or nag-e-exploit ng iba for their good, for their own good, ay kadalasan mga mahihirap. Part of, 'di ba, yung situation of poverty. Kasi when you are into that situation where you hardly, okay, merely survive in a day, syempre hindi mo na iisipin yung sarili mo, isipin mo lalo 'pag may family ka 'no, isipin mo na yung family mo on how are you going to feed them. So, instead po of, um, 'di ba, yung makaisip ka ng magaganda or maiwasan mo makagawa ng masama sa iba, nahihinder yon dun sa, gusto mo, kagustuhan mo to survive, okay? Because poverty implies self-deprivation and nagiging miserable yung buhay ng mga tao. Phases of poverty. Lastly, poverty can as well be especially detrimental to society in general. So, insofar as it can uphold a divided conflict of society. Ano yung conflict na sinasabi po natin? There is a gap. So again, when we're talking about the divided conflict of society, we're talking about the gap between the poor and the rich people, right? So habang mas lumalaki yung gap between them, nagkakaroon ngayon tayo ng conflict of the society. Kahit anong sabihin natin ganda ng isang country, if there is major number of poor people there, mahirapan po tayo to survive or mahirapan po yung economy po natin to be able to go further. Kasi merong mga tao na naiiwan na they are left behind, okay, dun sa mga platforms ng ating economy as a whole. Okay, next po tayo. Next concept. And the last concept that we have for today is all about the poverty trap. So, makikita po natin on the photo itself. Okay, so medyo, ano siya, no, medyo malabo. Ayan. So, when we talk about poverty trap, it is a mechanism that makes it's very difficult for people to escape poverty. So, a poverty trap is created when an economic system requires significant amount of capital in order to earn enough to escape poverty. So, makikita po natin dyan, yung una, okay, a child that goes up in the poverty, and then disadvantage sa education, and then sumunod naman dyan, and then yung struggles niya to get a job since hindi siya po nakapag-aral or yung education skills niya. Next is fail to escape the poverty cycle, and lastly, having a family na nasa poverty pa din. So yung anak niya will also grow in the in poverty and hindi rin makakapag-aral, mahirapan din humanap ng trabaho, hindi rin malalak ulit sa poverty, hindi magkakaroon din ng anak. So nakikita natin yung trap. It means mechanism no na ang hirap escape since, okay, because of these things na nangyayari po sa atin, nagiging cycle talaga siya. Nahihirapan tayo to be able to move forward. Okay? So, kadalasan, okay, sa mga family kaya sila nahihirapan is because yung the significant amount or the capital to be able to earn enough para dun sa ma-skip natin yung poverty line na yan is something very difficult. Lalo kapag yung mga tao, okay, ay hindi nabibigyan ng opportunities, hindi nabibigyan ng, 'di ba? Ng iba't iba sanang opportunities for them to escape the poverty cycle. Okay? So, ito yung trap na tinutukoy po natin. Ngayon, okay, as a student, I don't know the situation of each and every one of you, but sabi dun sa ating una nating napag-aralan, okay? According to Nelson Mandela, poverty is not an accident. Like slavery and apartheid, it is man-made and can be removed by the actions of human beings. Nakita nyo, the cycle of poverty na reason kung bakit nagkakaroon ng struggles to get the job is yung pagkakaroon ng disadvantage in education skills. Now that you have an opportunity, sana hindi nyo sinasayang ito. Your scholars, di ba? You have the opportunity to be here, to have proper education that will lead you to find a good stable job in the future and be able to skip the poverty line. So sana no, yung isipin nating mabuti yung mga actions natin. Sana hindi na natin maipamana kung ano man yung hirap na nararanasan natin ngayon sa mga magiging anak pa natin. Wala akong problema sa mga mahihirap. Wala tayong problema sa mga tao that in that situation. Pero nasa atin, okay, yung choice if you wanted to escape, okay, this poverty trap. So sana magkaroon tayo ng different ano naman, direction sa life po natin in which maging responsible tayo dun sa mga magiging desisyon po natin in having a family, okay? Kung sa tingin niyo the family that you're going to start over will not, 'di ba, get onto the cycle of poverty. Huwag natin silang gawing investment, no? So, lagi natin naririnig yan nowadays. So, I'm so glad na maraming mga tao ngayon ang nakaka-realize that children are not their investment. Hindi yung mga anak nila ang ano po sa kanila sa hirap dahil dun sa cycle, no? So, hindi investment ang mga anak nyo. Kaya, if you're not yet ready, so, sana maging responsible tayo to be able to escape the trap. So, sit work time tayo. Get a piece of paper and answer the following questions. So, after answering, take a photo of your answer sheet and upload it as your photo evidence of the day or your attendance for today. So, let's have fun. Question number 1. Hindi ko na babasahin. Ayan na, kayo na lang ang sumagot. You can pause this video para masagot po nyo ito. Okay? Sagot na po kayo. Question number 2. Again, pause and then answer. And question number 3. Ito po. This is an explanation. This will have more points than the 2 questions. Okay, so be concise. Ayusin ninyo yung pagsagot ninyo. You can take a screenshot of this or pause this video first and then answer. And last one. I am asking for your opinion, pero your opinion should be based on what we have learned for today. So, pause and then answer. I'm just going to have summary of today's class. So, for today, we have learned different concepts and definitions of poverty, and then we have seen the phases of poverty and the poverty trap. So, on the next discussion, we're going to learn about the causes of poverty. Okay, so that would end our discussion for today. Thank you for joining my class. If you want to learn another material from my class, subscribe now. Thank you so much, everyone.